Santa's Pep Talk. Santa's workshop has changed once again. The elves aren't happily skipping to work or singing with merry glee as they build their toys. Instead of bright, colorful lights, everything is cast in a drab hue, and the smell of freshly baked cakes has been overtaken by stale coffee and day-old donuts. The movie theater marquee now boasts repeated showings of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. A pre-recorded message breaks into the Christmas music. With global population of almost 7.5 billion, Santa Inc. requires an increase of productivity of over 9.5% per worker. We can achieve this through synergistic client-centered solutions and regimented, incentivized cross-platform integration. Remember, proven methodology and diversity are core competencies that distill brand loyalty. Your trajectory idea could predicate our next paradigm shift. A pair of elves cross paths beside us. The first asks the second,
"How is that new market analysis coming? Will it be ready for Beijing?"
"It'll be ready, sir. My team is finalizing the report now."
As soon as he's out of earshot of the first, the second elf mutters,
"I hate Mondays."
My curiosity is piqued. In childhood, Mrs. Claus was a matronly old lady, but in adolescence, she was a MILF. I realize it's a morbid fascination with the twisted inner workings of my own mind, but I'm dying to find out who she'll be in this more corporate iteration of the North Pole. For his part, Nicholas's curiosity seems tempered by worry. He has no idea how he'll be expected to act as we enter the large building at the head of the square. The room we step into is much more sterile and impersonal than it had been before. Everything has been coated over with white paint, and the decorations are secular and generic. They could be from any winter holiday. Too general to bring about nostalgia, too inoffensive to have significance. Where the tree had been before, a small waiting room has been set up. Nervous elves sit in a row of chairs, distracting themselves with magazines and smartphones. Finally, it's the moment we've been waiting for. Mrs. Claus steps through the same door she's used in both earlier scenarios, but this time there's no kitchen. Instead, she appears from a cluttered office with a frantic helper. She wears a pantsuit and carries herself with authority.
"Thank you for coming by, Twinkle. Please make sure to keep our discussion confidential."
Chewing his fingernails and shaking with nervous energy, Twinkle says,
"Yes, ma'am, I will."
Mrs. Claus calls out to the waiting elves,
"Meadow, I can see you now."
Setting down the dog-eared copy of Sledding Monthly she'd been thumbing through, Meadow leaps from her chair and heads into the office. Mrs. Claus takes note of our approach with a mechanical nod.
"Hello, Santa. I've got a rather full schedule. If you need to chat, have your assistant refer to my planner and set up an appointment with my assistant. In the meantime, please help yourself to some infused water or an energy drink. They're in the fridge."
She and Meadow retreat into the office, closing the door behind them. Another elf approaches us with a tablet computer. She's bookish, librarian sexy. She presents herself as Santa's executive assistant.
"Hello, Mr. Claus. You have several messages. I've checked them all twice and have concluded you can consolidate all your responses into a single conference call. I've already taken the liberty of setting it up for you in the meeting room. Right this way, sir."
Nicholas lets out a festive chuckle.
Thank you.
The elf shoots Nicholas an angry look.
"Mistletoe," she says. She takes a deep breath and adjusts her glasses. "You must be tired, sir. I'll call out to Yetis for a late lunch. You've got a busy night ahead of you, and I'm sure after you've had something to eat, you'll feel more like yourself."
Mistletoe walks briskly away, notices we aren't following, and turns back with an expression of polite condescension. "Right behind you," I say, towing Nicholas with me. In a spacious room filled with endless grids of cubicles, Santa's little helpers pore over letters and web-based wish lists, entering the data into spreadsheets. As we pass the water cooler, I overhear a conversation between two surly-looking elves.
Angela Engler in Dallas, Texas is asking for a TARDIS and a sonic screwdriver,
the female elf says. The male elf does a spit take.
After she deleted all of Mark's game saves? No way. What are you gonna do?
Well, I can't give her a lump of coal.
Right. I know it doesn't matter what I think, but the new policy is so stupid.
The female helper milks the moment, filling her paper cup with more water. The cooler bubbles and blurbs, and she takes a sip before saying,
I decided she's getting a pair of socks and a Phillips head screwdriver.
And that's why you're Employee of the Month, Holly.
Nicholas and I are led into the meeting room. As Miss Elto dials into the conference call, I take an interest in the scribbled writing on the whiteboard. Someone has made a list of obstacles Santa may encounter while delivering gifts. They've included things I would naturally assume: dogs, burglar alarms, kids staying up, and houses without fireplaces. Some logistical things that make sense when pointed out: no-fly zones, refugee camps, icy roofs, and spoiled milk, and some rather unusual things that must have come up in one of those no-bad-idea brainstorming sessions. Aliens, Godzilla, poverty, and atheism. Nicholas curls his mouth into a pained expression as he searches for a way out of the room.
I don't think I have time for this, he says. I've still got to, check on the reindeer and make sure the sleigh's all gassed up.
Miss Elto laughs pleasantly. You're so funny, Santa. The sleigh is gassed up. You're just too much sometimes. She pats him on the head and steps away from the table. Okay, you're all set. With his eyes, Nicholas pleads with me, but instead of offering him an alibi to get out of his situation, I sit down and settle in for the show. A voice amplifies from the phone speakers. Santa, are you there?
Yes, Nicholas says. Yes, I'm here.
Miss Elto motions for Nicholas to bow down, and when his ear comes near her mouth, she whispers, They just need a little pep talk from you. Something to push them over the top tonight. Cheeks burning, Nicholas nods and leans in toward the phone. He clears his throat and begins to say the first thing entering his head.
I'd like to thank you all for the hard work you've been doing. Tonight is the culmination of your efforts, and because of you, I know we'll have another successful Christmas. So give yourselves a pat on the back and a round of applause.
A dozen voices overlap. Thank you, Santa. As Nicholas opens his mouth to speak again, he's interrupted by an insistent gnome.
And what about the teddy bear division?
The, teddy bear division?
Nicholas asks.
Yeah, this is Buttons from TBD. What solutions do you propose to solve the problems we've been experiencing down here?
Nicholas looks to his assistant, who's searching through her documents for something relevant. Nicholas asks,
Could you clarify the issues? For the benefit of everyone on the call. Perhaps someone here has an idea.
Certainly, the gnome says. The problem is the demand for traditional toys, such as teddy bears and rocking horses, has dropped significantly in favor of electronic devices and video games. So many of my helpers have been made redundant and transferred to other departments. I'm concerned we're losing the crafting skills necessary to make quality in-house goods in favor of this newfangled fad.
Another voice bursts forth.
A fad? You call the digital arts a fad? What's artistic about violence and the exploitation of women?
Oh, Santa, this is Pipsy from Game and Software Development. I was expecting a resolution to the bandwidth issues we've been experiencing. That's why I took this call during crunch time, not to be insulted by a dinosaur.
My toys taught children about actual dinosaurs. Your so-called games turn the majestic creatures into craven, bloodthirsty monsters and tasks the children with driving them to extinction all over again. Miss Alto scrambles into a chair and leaps onto the table. She presses the mute button and stares up at Santa with animated eyes. I'm sorry. I should have warned you this might happen. Nicholas shakes his beard and waves his palms at her.
I think you should handle this.
Sir, they need to hear from you.
I add, yeah, after all, you are Santa Claus. His eyes shoot lasers at me. He points and warns,
I'll deal with you in a minute.
Unmuting the line and cutting into the persisting argument, he says,
Buttons, Pipsy, in the spirit of the charity this season is meant to inspire, can we set aside our grudges for one night and focus instead on the task of spreading joy to billions of children?
Nicholas places his hands on the table and leans in over the phone.
Any problems we face tonight might seem catastrophic. I get that. I really do. It's so hard to see beyond the moment when you're suffering the way you are. But I want you to remember this. Tomorrow, those problems will be behind you. And on Christmas morning, as you look into the eyes of your family, you'll see what I'm saying is true.
Nicholas looks at me as he continues.
Will all your problems be gone? Will your painful memories persist? Can anything we do here tonight bring you total healing?
He shakes his head, leaving the answer rhetorical to those on the other side of the phone.
I wish I could say your life will be perfect after tonight. It won't be, and it never will. If that's your honest expectation, there's nothing I can do to make your Christmas wishes come true.
I'd like to say what Nicholas came up with helped, but the arguing voices overlapping from the speakerphone informs me it didn't hit the mark. Miss Alto intervenes. All right, we have a lot to do to make tonight successful. I think we should all take a moment to thank Santa for lending us some of his valuable time on Christmas Eve to hear your thoughts. The elves on the line all say things like, "Thank you, Santa," and "Yeah, thanks." But their gratitude is served cold. Ending the call, Miss Alto gives Nicholas a reassuring smile, adding, "Good one, boss. That should give us at least another year before they talk about unionizing again."